blog attempts to answer when the dead will outnumber the living on Facebook. We are going to die, hopefully not too soon, and that means that someday everyone currently on Facebook will be 6 feet under. The blog What If recently attempted to determine when the number of dead people on Facebook will outnumber those who are alive. It's a morbid but fascinating question, and the unidentified blogger behind What If is more than up to the challenge. The conclusion, depending on whether Facebook stays popular, the answer is either in the 2060s or the 2130s. The blogger writes, based on the site's growth rate and the age breakdown of their users of the time, there are probably 10 to 20 million people who created Facebook profiles who have since died. Looking down the road, the blogger writes, about 290,000 US Facebook users will die or have died in 2013. The worldwide total for 2013 is likely several million. In just 7 years, this death rate will double, and in 7 more years it will double again. The question, the blogger argues, is whether or not Facebook will continue to add more young users to outrun this tide of death for a while. If the social network can get young people to keep joining, the blogger estimates that the dead won't outnumber the living on Facebook until around 2130. On the other hand, if Facebook flees plans and young people abandon the social networking sites for something else, the crossover date will come much earlier, around 2065. For more questions from What If, check out the archives. There you will learn how much force power Yoda can output, the odds of correctly guessing every answer on the SAT, and what would happen if the sun suddenly shuts off. Maps are lying to you. Maps lie, and that's inevitable. That's what happens when you try to take a spherical object like our planet and flatten it on a piece of paper. Inspired by a recent post on Upworthy that included a clip from The West Wing in which characters have their minds blown by truth-telling cartographers, we decided to take another look at the maps mentioned. In the clip from The West Thing that's going viral, the cartographers speak about the differences between the Mercator projection vs the Gall-Peters projection. Here's the Mercator map. Now here's an example of the Gall-Peters projection, also mentioned in the clip. See the differences? In the first map, created by Flemish cartographer named Gerardus Mercator in the 16th century, the rectangular grid made it relatively simple for sailors to navigate the oceans. The problem was that when it came to land masses, it wasn't exactly accurate. In 1973, Emil Peters aimed to change that by creating his own map that more accurately took into account the size of developing nations. Mental Flows explains that the map was quite controversial, but many experts believed it was far superior and more accurate than Mercator's. Eventually, his map became so well received that some were calling for an all-out ban on the Mercator map, believing it to be an outmoded symbol of colonialism. The thing is, cartographers agreed that the Mercator map was outdated, inaccurate, and wasn't the best way to present the world's land masses. They'd been calling for the use of a new projection since the 1940s. There are, of course, countless ways to map the Earth. The National Geographic Society, which knows a thing or two about getting around, have used the Wing-Held Triple Projection Map since 1988. 10 flu myths. If you've ever had the flu, you know how sick you can be. Chances are good that some of the advice friends and family gave you, but about avoiding or dealing with the flu was wrong. There seems to be no shortage of misinformation and bad advice when it comes to dealing with the flu. Here are 10 of the most common myths I've heard about the flu. Myth 1. You can catch the flu from the vaccine. The vaccine is made from an inactivated virus that can't transmit infection. So people who get sick after receiving a flu vaccination were going to get sick anyway. It takes a week or two to get protection from the vaccine. But people assume that's because they got sick after getting the vaccine. The shot caused their illness. Myth 2. Healthy people don't need to be vaccinated. It's true that the flu vaccination is routinely recommended for people who have a chronic illness, but anyone, even healthy folks, can benefit from being vaccinated. Current guidelines suggest that children ages 6 months to 19 years old, pregnant women, and anyone over age 49 be vaccinated each year. In addition, the flu shot is recommended for healthy people who might spread the virus to others who are particularly susceptible. For this reason, healthcare workers are routinely advised to get the flu vaccination to protect their patients. Myth 3. Getting the flu vaccination is all you need to do to protect yourself from the flu. There are a number of steps you can take to protect yourself during flu season besides vaccination. Avoid contact with people who have the flu, wash your hands frequently, and consider taking antiviral medications if you were exposed to the flu before being vaccinated. Myth 4. The flu is just a bad cold. Influenza may cause bad cold symptoms, but in the United States alone, 63,000 people die and more than 200,000 are hospitalized each year because of the flu. Myth 5. You can't spread the flu if you are feeling well. Actually, 20 to 30% of people carrying the influenza virus have no symptoms. Myth 6. You don't need to get the flu shots every year. The influenza virus changes each year, so getting vaccinated each year is important to make sure you have immunity to the strains most likely to cause an outbreak. Myth 7. You can catch the flu from going out in cold weather without a coat. With wet hair or by sitting near a drafty window. The only way to catch the flu is by being exposed to the influenza virus. Flu season coincides with the cold weather, so people often associate the flu with a cold, drafty environment, but they are not related. Myth 8. Feed a cold, start a fever. If you have the flu or a cold and a fever, you need more fluids. There's little reason to increase or decrease how much you eat. Though you have no appetite, starving yourself will accomplish little, and poor nutrition will not help you get better. Myth 9. Chicken soup will speed your recovery from the flu. Hot liquids can soothe a sore throat and provide much needed fluids, but chicken soup has no other specific qualities that can help fight the flu. Myth 10. If you have a high fever with the flu that lasts more than a day or two, antibiotics may be necessary. Antibiotics work well against bacteria, but they aren't effective for a viral infection like the flu. Then again, some people develop a bacterial infection as a complication of the flu, so it may be a good idea to get checked out if your symptoms drag on or worsen. The flu is a good example of how medical myths can get in the way of good medical care. When it's flu season, take the necessary steps to stay healthy. That includes separating fact from myth. How to adjust to the end of daylight saving time. Many of us are looking forward to when the clocks fall back on Sunday and we get the extra hour of sleep. But even though it can be a tougher adjustment to spring forward, after all, that's when we lose an hour and may have trouble getting up in the morning. Experts say that there are few situations in which you can benefit from prepping yourself for this upcoming time change. You are already dealing with sleep problems. Time changes in either direction can aggravate existing sleep issues, says William Kohler, MD, a Florida-based sleep specialist and spokesperson for the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. So while you may be tempted to stay out late and sleep in the next day, after all, you've got the extra hour coming your way. He says this is a time of year that it's especially important to practice good sleeping hygiene. And that means sticking to a routine, waking up and going to bed around the same time each day. If you're the type that has trouble staying asleep, extra brightness in the morning may interfere with getting enough snooze time. Invest in a set of room darkening shades. Advice is cooler, but make sure to open them up as soon as you are awake. AM sunlight resets your biological clock and can actually make falling asleep at the end of the day easier. You are a parent. You know how your kid wakes up at the crack of dawn, no matter how late mommy and daddy were out night before. Well, turning the clocks back means they might wake up even earlier, says Judith Owens, MD, a sleep medicine expert at Children's National Medical Center. Like in adults, light helps regulate kids' body clocks, she explains. To keep little ones up long enough at night and asleep late enough in the morning, make sure they get natural light exposure in the evenings and that their bedrooms are dark at night. All daytime routines, meals, bath time help keep them on schedule. So don't tempt it to serve dinner earlier just because it's dark outside, she advises. Keeping evening activities consistent can help you avoid time change troubles. You get the winter blues. The end of daylight saving time can actually be good for your mood, says psychologist Stephen Josephson, PhD, of Cornell Medical College. You may not enjoy leaving the office when it's already dark out, but biologically, morning light actually boosts your mood the most. So take advantage of an earlier sunrise and leave your blinds open at night, he recommends. If they lead to sleep troubles, keep the shades shut while you sleep but open them first thing and and then get outside and exercising as early as you can. 10 things you didn't know about colds. A sniffle, a sneeze. You know all about the common cold, right? Or do you? We scour the latest research and talk to experts to dig up the most surprising things you may not have known about catching or recovering from the common cold. First, it takes about 48 hours to infect you and make you sick. The scratchy throat and runny nose that's coming on. Think back to where you were 48 hours ago. Chances are that's where you picked up your cold bug. Experts say that it takes about 2 days for a cold to empt into the lining of your cells and produce symptoms. Baffled by whether you've come down with the flu or with a cold, while no one can predict how an infection will progress, and sometimes even experts are fooled by colds masquerading as the flu. You can use this rule of thumb from Ron Eccles, BSc, PhD, DSc, Director of the Common Cold Centre at Cardiff University in the UK. Cold viruses do not usually cause fever in adults, he says. Sudden onset fever and cough are the best predictors of influenza. Second, the best cold fighting weapon may be your tennis shoes. Your medicine cabinet may be stocked with the latest cold fighting medicines. But when it comes down to it, experts say that the best way to protect yourself isn't with a pill, but by breaking a sweat. Appalachian State University researchers have studied how the immune systems and viruses are affected by exercise, and the findings are fascinating. Any exercise, however limited, is great. The researchers say that if you really want to ward off colds this winter, you are best off working out at least 5 days per week, but no marathon training is required. A brisk 30-minute walk 5 times per week does the trick to cold-proof your immune system. Mild exercise is good as it moves the blood around the body and also moves the immune white cells around to search for infection, says Dr. Eccles. Third, late nights could be contributing to your sniffling and sneezing. How much sleep did you get last night? If it was fewer than 7 hours, you are 3 times more likely to catch a cold, say researchers at Carnegie Mellon University, whose study was published in a recent issue of the journal Archives of Internal Medicine. It's also important to use your time in bed wisely, meaning when you are in bed sleep, the researchers call it sleep efficiency. For instance, study participants who spent less than 92% of their time in bed sleep were at least 5 times more likely to pick up a cold virus than those who fell asleep quicker and stayed asleep longer. To get more shut-eye, sleep experts recommend banishing the TV as well as night lights, which can distract and impede your sleep cycles. Fourth, a tall glass of orange juice isn't a cold cure-all. When you start to feel the first signs of a cold coming on, what do you do? If your first response is to load up on OJ in hopes of boosting your body's vitamin C levels, you might reconsider. A major review of more than 30 studies conducted by researchers at Australian National University and the University of Helsinki say that for the majority of people, Vitamin C does nothing to prevent or reduce the symptoms of a cold. Disappointing, yes, but there's a caveat. If you are under a lot of stress or are putting your body to the test, for example, training for a marathon, a daily dose of 200 mg of vitamin C may reduce your chances of catching a cold by about half. To get more C naturally, load up on these foods: oranges and citrus, of course, and also papaya, broccoli, tomatoes, red peppers, and kiwi. 5. There's a flower that may help fight cold viruses. You've probably heard of Echinacea, a plant with a stunning pink flower, which is believed to help boost the immune system. The University of Connecticut researchers put the theory to the test recently, and after studying more than 1,600 people, they reported that not only did echinacea cut the chances of matching a cold in half, but also those study participants who took it reduced the duration of their colds by about 1.4 days. Should you supplement with echinacea? It's worth a try, says Dr. Eccles, as it is a natural product. It is not possible to standardize the medicine. So, like buying wine, get the best quality from herbal supplement makers who have been in the business for a while. 6. A cold virus could make you fat. Could you blame that extra 15 pounds you've gained on the cold you got last spring? It may not be a far-fetched idea. According to researchers at Rady Children's Hospital in San Diego, in their study of children published in a recent issue of the journal Pediatrics, they found that kids who had been infected by adenovirus 63, a common cold virus that causes typical cold symptoms and sometimes gastrointestinal issues, were on average 50 pounds heavier than children who hadn't been infected by the strain, suggesting that the viral infection may cause excess weight gain. While researchers aren't implying that all cold viruses, even this particular one, cause lifelong weight problems, it's some extra incentive to stay healthy this reason, right? Hot drinks can help zap the symptoms of cold viruses. Your mom was right. Tea and hot soup may be the keys to feeling better when you are hit with a bad cold. According to a study published in a recent issue of the journal Rhinology, researchers in England say that simply sipping a hot beverage can provide immediate and sustained relief from your worst cold symptoms, like coughing, sneezing, runny nose, sore throats, and fatigue. The researchers tested hot beverages versus room temperature drinks and found that the warmth in a cup had soothing, feel-good properties. Your new feel-better fast remedy: herbal tea with a squeeze of lemon and 1 teaspoon of honey, which has also been proven to soothe sore throats. 8. an ingredient found in breast milk can make you feel better fast. It turns out that the ingredient in breast milk that you can find via supplements may help your most intense cold go away. A, da- a deriv- derivative of fluoric acid. Mono, mono, Monolaurin is a fatty acid found naturally in breast milk, explains Tom Bandisi, a, prac- a practitioner with ChicagoHealers.com. It is known to decrease symptoms of the flu and fatigue. You can find monolaurin supplements at any health food store or vitamin shop and at the most pharmacies. As with the as with all natural supplements, talk to your doctor about the right dosage and whether there are any drug contraindications to keep in mind. 9. The average person gets 200 colds in his or her lifetime. According to estimates, by your 75th birthday, you're likely to have suffered through 200 colds. That's 2 years of your life sneezing. And while children typically get between 4 and 8 colds per year, older people get a break from them. Experts believe that this is due to the fact that most elderly people have already been exposed to the majority of cold viruses circulating, but as Dr. echoes, a new virus can be devastating to the elderly, often manifesting in upper res- res- respiratory illness. 10. Colds are really not that contagious. We hear so much about the dreaded rhinovirus that most people think a mere handshake with a sick person is going to send them coughing. Not true, says experts. Recent research by the Cardiff University Common Cold Center found that when healthy people were put in a room with cold sufferers, it was remarkably difficult to spread the infection from one person to another. In fact, the cold virus has to have the ideal conditions when hitting your body to infect you. Colds are not very contagious, and most colds are caught at home from kids and partners from prolonged and close contact, says Dr. Eccles. In other words, don't need to don a mask in public. Just use common sense. Swarms of ladybugs overtake homes. Asian lady beetles have swarmed Tennessee homes. The ladybugs are covering houses throughout areas of the state and are attracted to light-colored structures for warmth as outdoor temperatures drop. Lebanon resident Diane Stroud told WTVF News Channel 5, "There were probably 1 million of them. They were all over the porch. I mean, the whole porch was completely covered. I mean, it was almost completely black with Ken Thompson, another Tennyson in Madison Lee dealing with the insects told WBIR. The ladybugs come from the north over here, and it looked like a big swarm of hornets coming. And about 12 o'clock, they covered this whole side of the house from the side all the way around." Entomologist and the Davidson County Extension agent David Cook said. Some of our other county agents have called it and say, "What's the deal with this? All of a sudden they just show up." David gave his assurance that the bugs are harmless, but they have a very foul odor and a very bitter taste, and so this protects these insects from being preyed on by lizards and birds. Experts say the invasion will not end until several cold snaps cause the insects to die naturally. Guy Wilson of Wilson County told WKRN News 2, "Well, I don't like cold snaps, but I'd like to see them go 'cause it's be a bit of problem with if we have to keep cleaning them up every day." Adam Wexler of Dayton Pest Control gave this helpful cleanup tip. Paint holes on the inside of a vacuum, and so you suck them into a vacuum, and then you can throw the paint holes away, and you can kind of collect them this way because once they get into the bag, it's going to stink up. Swarms of the Asian lady beetles have also been reported throughout the Midwest, parts of the Northeast and Canada. For those that are fond of insects, pest control experts say that there are more of them to come, as kudu bugs are likely to follow.